Hello, everyone. We have a video here for lesson 1.6. That will be on using some formulas. Specifically, it says variables in familiar formulas. So we'll just get started here. A formula, they call it as an equation that relates to or more quantities, but generally what we think of a formula is something you can plug numbers into to get what you're looking for. So it's kind of a set equation that you can use for any problem that fits in the situation you're talking about. So if we look at example 1, finding perimeter and area. So these are some set formulas that you should, if you're going to be doing the practice for extra credit and stuff, you will be using these formulas, or if you're practicing on the study guide. Perimeter and area, the way they get these, like the perimeter, one way to get perimeter is just add all the sides, but they call it 2L plus 2W because there's a length here and a length here, so there's two of them. And then you add to that the width and the width because there's two of them. So yeah, perimeter, you can just add four things, or you can take two of the things and multiply them by 2 and add them together. So either way, but so here's the formula. If they have this rectangle here, and we got to find the perimeter. If we throw the numbers in here, the length is 12. We put that there. The width is 7. Okay. Now they kind of skip this step, but two order operations say you do the multiplication first. So 2 times 12 is 24. 2 times 7 is 14. And that's where they get the answer that they wrote down there, 38. Okay. Area formula is even easier. It's just a one-step, length times width. So we just go 12 times 7, 84 for the area. Okay. Finding the side length, and specifically of what they're looking at here is a square. Find the side length of a square with an area of 64. Later on, we'll look at a problem when they give you a side length with a perimeter, but this one has to do with area. And so area of a square, it's the same as area as a rectangle, but so area of a rectangle is length times width, but with a square, both the length and width are the same thing. So it would be like saying, they say it's side times side, which then gives you this A equals S squared, because S times S means S squared. So they're telling you the area is 64. Okay, and that's equals the side squared. So what you need to tell yourself is what squared equals 64, or what times itself equals 64. If you don't know that, you start throwing numbers. 6 times 6, well, that's 36. 7 times 7, it's 49. We're getting closer. So 8 times 8 is 64. Okay, if you've done some algebra and stuff before, you'd also know that if you took the square root of 64, that would give you 8. So that would be an answer for that. We'll look at in a little bit how to do one if they give you a perimeter instead of an area. Distance formula. This will be something you will use, and there are different variations of it, but the main distance formula is right here. Distance equals rate times time. Okay, so you get a distance, and in what the distance is in is based on what your rate is in. So rate, like a lot of times would be like miles per hour. That means the time would be in hours and the distance would be in miles, because your rate is miles per hour. Let's take a look at a problem. A duck is flying at a rate of 55 feet per second. So this time it's different. The rate is in feet per second. So when you use this formula, unless you have to change things later. The distance would be in feet, the time would be in seconds. It says, how far does a duck travel in 6 seconds? Okay. Now, if they gave you a speed in feet per second and then told you it flew for some sort of minutes, you're going to have to change some things, but you're not going to see that right now. Okay. So the formula that they give us, distance equals rate times time. We're looking for the distance because it says how far. Okay. And then they give us the rate and the time. So 55 feet per second times 6 seconds. So 330 when you multiply those together, and that is in feet because the rate was in feet per second. Okay. Last page, let's look at a couple examples here. It says find the perimeter and area of a square with 6 inches side length. So they gave us the perimeter one's easier. Or no, sorry. Well, it kind of is, but we'll go over the one they gave us first. They said, because this is a square, they said area is s squared. So if it has a side length of 6, we go 6 squared, which is 6 times 6 is 36. Okay. Perimeter, now this is just for a square, not of a rectangle. The rectangle is up top. It was 2L plus 2W. Well, if you have a square, all the sides are the same, and a side is S. So we have S and S and S and S. That means you're adding 4 S's together, which can be simplified to 4S. So a perimeter of a square is 4S. So if they say find the perimeter and the square is 6, now you could have done this without knowing this. You could have said, well, if there's 4 sides and it's 6 on each, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, you would get to 24. Otherwise, you could say this. There's 4 sides, there's 6, each side is 6, you multiply them and you get your 24. Okay. It says find the side length of a square that has an area of 144. So again, we're using this formula. It's saying the area is 144. So this is different than the problem above. Different than problem 1. They gave us the side. Here they give us the area. And we need to find what the side squared is. Okay, so what squared equals 144? Well, 10 squared is 100. Okay, so then if you needed your calculator, either you could hit the square root key over 144, which we'll look at a little bit later, or you could keep trying. Well, what's 11 squared? That's 121. Well, 12 squared, oh, that's 144. So the answer is 12. Number 3, how far does an airplane travel in 3 hours at a rate of 450 miles per hour? So again, whoa, that's, I can't wait to get that pen instead of using the mouse. Distance equals rate times time. So our distance will equal, it's going 450 miles per hour, so that's the rate. And if the 2 letters are next to each other, that means multiplication, R times T. It's doing that for 3 hours, so it means multiply. So take 450 times 3, you get 1,350. Okay. Number 4, using the distance formula to find time. Okay, so what they have done is the original distance formula is distance equals rate times time. If you need to find time, given a distance and a rate, you would use this. Time equals distance divided by rate. If you need to find a rate given distance and time, so if it would be this. So like example for this one, if they said you went 180 miles in 3 hours, how fast were you driving on average? So you divide 180 divided by 3, it would be 60 miles per hour. Okay. This one, it says how long will it take a goose to travel 690 feet at a rate of feet per second. So one thing you got to make sure is that, so that you don't have to do any changing of stuff, that the distance matches with the distance part of the rate. So it's 690 feet. It's going feet per second. So that's good. And then when we find our answer, the time will be in seconds because it was feet per second. So now we just plug in into the formula. We're looking for the time, okay, because it says how long. We plug in the distance of 690, rate of 46 feet per second. We divide, and you get 15. And again, that's seconds because the rate was in feet per second. Okay. That's it for the note-taking guide. If we go to the study guide, we have same thing as in the note-taking guide. So if you can do these, you're going to be probably pretty good when we get to the review and the test. Finding the side length, just always make sure you know what they're giving you. So 3 is they're giving you an area. So it would look just like this. Okay. This one, they're giving you a perimeter. So that was the one in the note-taking guide where we said perimeter of a square. Sorry for that ugly equal sign, is 4s. Let's see if I can make that equal sign better. And then you would put 44 in for the perimeter and figure out what s would have to be. Here they give you they have the distance equals rate times time formula. So if they give you a rate and a time and you need to find the distance, you would use this. If they give you a distance and a time and you need to find the rate, you would use this. If you needed to find time, so I don't think there's one on here. Oh, yep, number 6. So this, if you're doing this, you would use this for number 6. Distance or time equals distance divided by rate. Okay. So that's it for the study guide. I think if you can do the study guide without any questions, you're probably pretty good. But again, the best one, if you're going to take some time to practice this stuff, would be the practice workbook. And if you do that, you're going to get some extra points, which will really help you in getting your credit. So just go through this. If you have questions on what to do, just always make sure you're reading the directions. Like if this was a test, this would be big. You need to find the perimeter and area. So you should have 2 answers for each. Again, here, perimeter and area. And you should label them. Each answer should say like P equals something and A equals something. So we know what's the perimeter, what's the area. These are just like some of the ones on the study guide. These are all using one of those 3 distance formulas, either the that I wrote on the study guide. I wrote all 3. The ones that compare distance, rate, and time. And then a couple other word problems on here. So if you're doing those, take pictures, send them to me in a chat, and give you extra points for those. Again, the answers for both the study guide and the practice workbook are in the back. So do some problems, take a look, make sure you're getting it right. If you're not getting it right, ask me a question. We can go over it. Also, make sure you're sending me a message after you watch this video so you can get your respect and effort points for the day. All right, we'll talk to you later.